decided that this session, what we're offering, will actually be more like a demonstration of what we actually do in the online platform. Rather than talking about it, maybe we'll show you a few things. So beginning with the prayer, that's how we start all our sessions. So I'm going to chant and Shakuntala will repeat after. Sahana Vavatu.
Om Sahana Vavatu
Sahanau Bhunaktu.
Sahanau Bhunaktu
Saha Viryam Karavavahai.
Saha Viryam Karavavahai
Tejasvinavadhitamastu.
Tejasvinavadhitamastu
Mavedvishavahai.
Ma Vidvishavahai.
Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
We'll just take a minute to completely come into the present moment. So if all of you could just sit up with your back straight, close your eyes and bring your attention to your breath. This is a webinar mode, so we cannot see you, but you can see yourself. So let your posture actually enable better attention. Take a few deep breaths to completely cut off from the past, from any distractions, preoccupations of the mind about the future. Simply come into the present moment. One last breath and you can open your eyes. So welcome to the session. I'm going to ask Shakuntala to share the screen. We are here to share our journey from offline to online. Our school follows the tradition of Sri T. Krishnamacharya and Sri T. K. Videskachar. So it's a very traditional school, and the first learning that comes to a student is about this relationship between the teacher and the student, and how there can be no teaching without the teacher and the student. There can be no teacher without the student. There can be no student without the teacher. Right? That's what this particular prayer signifies. Say, Sahana Vavatu, may both of us, the teacher and the student, really be protected. May we be nourished. May we be energized by what we are learning. And may this learning dispel the darkness, dispel the clouds of doubt and darkness. And may the light shine, the light from within. And may all the forces within, around us and beyond be appeased so that the learning can happen seamlessly. One very significant aspect of this prayer, it says, Ma with Vishavahai. Let there be no discord, no blocks between the teacher and the student. Let nothing come in the way of the learning. Now, we start with this prayer in in the online setting. We also do it when we meet people in person. It is really setting the intention, the sankalpa for the session, that we are making a commitment to each other and we will stay together. We will be fully attentive and present in this whole process. So it requires that real-time connection. It requires that exchange of prana. And there is a direct transmission between the teacher and the student. And that is how learning happens in the traditional setting. Now, how do we actually bring this spirit and bring these very, very essential core elements of our teaching learning process into the online setting has been really the challenge. So the challenges were many. I know most of you who have transitioned from the offline setting to the online setting have experienced much of this, and we've all been trying to learn and cope and adapt to these changes. But what I really want to bring to our attention is how do we keep the yoga in the teaching of yoga? That is really the essence, right? Because if I cannot really bring the essential aspects of the learning pedagogy that is really going to ensure that there is a transmission, there is an understanding, experience, and that will be carried forward. That is how yoga was taught through generations. That's how this system has stayed alive over thousands of years. So what is our responsibility as teachers and students? What is that we are receiving and how do we take it forward without diluting it, without distorting these teachings and learning? So we really have to bring the process as close as possible to how it was and how it is meant to be. Okay. So the most essential aspect of yoga is, of course, practice. And when I mean practice, it is practicing to be in the present moment, right? Building the capacity for dharana, to move from a state of vikshipta, which is an oscillating mind. That is a state of mind we are in most of the time when we are healthy and happy, okay? I'm not talking about states of mind like being the monkey or a buffalo. Okay, those are extremes. When we are sick or when we are too distracted. Here I'm talking about a state of mind that is ready for yoga, vikshipta. And research says that the average attention span of a human being now, and this study was done sometime in 2015. So we don't know, post-COVID, it would have become far worse. They say the average attention span is 8.25 seconds, not minutes, okay? Which is lesser than a goldfish. I believe the goldfish has attention span of 9 seconds. Imagine that. Now, post-COVID or during COVID, we have completely lost it, you know? Like today I have 2 gadgets that I'm working with and I have my phone next to me. So there are so many things that we are working with simultaneously. So our attention is completely dispersed. So with this kind of a mind that we are training to multitask and multitask, I really don't know where we are with yoga, right? So how do you keep yoga in our teaching and learning process? So first thing is practice. So asana, pranayama, pratyahara, big aspect of the practice. Like how do you really direct your senses in a meaningful, purposeful manner for a length of time, not 8.25 seconds, but much longer, yeah? So that learning can happen. And practice also includes our food habits, our sleep hygiene, our lifestyle, what we are engaging with before the class, after the class, during the class, because we can, of course, multitask. Most of your windows are probably shut, you know, you're sitting behind a window, nobody can see you, so you can do anything, really. No, there is no kind of accountability to where your mind is. Maybe your body is there. So what is practice? Okay. And how do we ensure that this practice is happening for the teachers and the students all through this learning process? and between the learning modules. It's not only when we are in the class, but how do we ensure that we take care of our food, our sleep, our daily activities? We are not sitting for too long in front of the computer or the iPad. We are moving, and then we are not totally distracted. We are trying to pay attention to one thing at a time. So all this is part of practice. And then study, of course, what is that we are offering through this medium, whether it's a practical session or a lecture session or a demonstration, whatever that might be. How are we studying that? Okay. Now, through bringing together the practice and study, there is a certain lived experience. There is an experience, or what we call anubhavam, that one has to go through. And that experience is at the level of your body, at the level of your breath, with your mind, with your emotions. And in the beginning, we really struggled with this, because when people are sitting, sometimes we can't see them clearly. Sometimes they don't have their video on. We don't know what is happening. We don't know what is happening to their mind, to their emotions. Are you getting frustrated? Are you sleepy? Or are you just too complacent, too relaxed that you're not able to pay attention? It's so difficult. The teacher has to be attentive. The teacher does not have a choice. But the students have a lot of choice. And this does not happen in a real classroom setting. I can actually see a student if they're going to fall asleep, or I can see a student if they're distracted or they want to walk away. But here you can do all that without the teacher knowing. And that means we are left with a certain assumed experience of the whole reality. And yoga is about understanding reality closer and closer to what it really is than what we assume it to be. Okay. So initially there's a lot of this assumption, and slowly, we've been able to filter off and see what is really happening. Now, this experience also helps us to reflect. If I'm truly experiencing that session, okay, sometimes I can feel that my breath is blocked. I'm not able to think clearly. My mind is fuzzy. Or the teacher is asking a question I don't even want to answer. Or I don't know what is really happening. And all these are not my imagined ideas. These were things that students shared in the classroom, that I don't know what is happening. I don't know how to respond. I feel very shy or feel very intimidated. Okay. So at least one is in touch with these feelings and emotions and thought processes. And that kind of a reflective space is very, very important, that we are really with the truth of the moment. And then there is an understanding. For me, the understanding is really pay attention to your daily routine, to your sleep, to your food. Because if these things are not taken care of, I don't think this kind of a mode will really work so efficiently. So all of these are feeding into each other continuously. So I want to just touch upon the traditional learning process. How do we learn? Okay. The first step is to listen, what we call Shravana. So when I use a Sanskrit word, one of my co-faculty will type that word out in the chat box, so you can look at it now, as Shakuntala is going to put that word. Shravanam. Shravanam is to listen. And it's not simply to hear, it is to listen with a quiet mind. Listen with attention. Listen with the desire to learn. Okay, so there's a certain amount of connection to the teacher and the faith in what you're listening to or who you're listening to. If I don't believe in the person I'm listening to, I'm not even going to listen, right? So that attention, the shraddha, the faith in whom you're listening to and what you're listening to, and with a quiet mind. Yeah, the mind that is ready to receive. That's the first step. Shravana, when it happens properly, takes you to the next step, which is called grahanam. So you are able to grasp something and understand it. So maybe there is a session which is 50 minutes longer, 1 hour longer. You can't take everything, right? You can't understand every statement the teacher made, or you can't hold everything together. But there are a few key aspects that you can hold because you have understood it, you have taken it in. That is called grahanam. Okay. The third step is very important, which is the idea of reflection, or idea of contemplation, what we call mananam. Mananam is I have to run it over in my mind over and over again. I have to think about it. I have to process that. I may not have time to process that in the classroom. So I have to have quiet time outside during the breaks where that mananam can happen. Okay. Where you're committing it to memory, that you're able to really make meaning out of what you have taken in. The next step is nididhyasana. This is where you begin to internalize the teachings. You bring it into your daily life, you bring it into your practice, you make it a meditative process, nididhyasana. Okay? And only through that, when it becomes your own experience and you have completely assimilated and internalized it, are you ready to teach what we call pravachan? Okay. Now what's happening? That we have so much of information out there that yoga teaching has become mostly all about information sharing. So if I have a lot of PowerPoints and recordings and everything, I actually feel very secure. I think I have all the information I need. I can take it. I can, of course, do some level of grahanam and mananam to it. I can internalize it at the level of my intellect, and then I can start teaching. So we skip a few steps sometimes. We listen, okay? We make notes, and then we start teaching. So some of the very essential steps, when they are bypassed, then that is not yoga. That is not the way we are meant to study or teach yoga. So this is a very important aspect that we wanted to keep in mind and continuously come back to this process to see how close are we to this, what is taking us away, and how do we come back to this very essential intent, sankalpa, that we keep yoga in the teaching and learning of yoga. So I want to pause here a little bit and share with all of you how we do this. Okay. So like Shivani mentioned, we do a few specialized forms of teaching. We have been able to bring our teacher training, our therapist training, the Yogavahini program, even Yoga Sadhana, which is a much more experiential kind of a course, into the online setting. We don't completely do it online. We combine it, make it hybrid. But there's a lot that we need to do online because we sometimes don't meet for several months at a time. So I'm going to ask Shakuntala to demonstrate. Okay, and I'm the teacher and she's the student now. And we are going to demonstrate to you how we use the online setting for learning. Okay. So for the therapist training, we, if you can just blow up Shakuntala, to just pin her alone, I think it will be easier to observe. Thank you. Okay, so a very important part of our training, because we offer personalized yoga therapy, is that we need to work with each individual and offer what is most appropriate for that individual. So a lot of our work is based on observation of that individual. Okay, Shakuntala, just take a few breaths as I just give the context. So when somebody comes to a class, I can see the person walking into the room, how they're sitting, how they're getting up, how they're moving. But much of that learning is lost in the online setting, right? So we'll try and see how closely we can simulate that learning for the students in the online setting. So I'm asking Shakuntala to just stand with your feet apart in a very relaxed manner. So this is not standing in samasthiti, but just stand very casually. So when you stand casually, the natural posture of the person is revealed. So you can see how Shakuntala is standing now. You can see she's putting more weight on the left leg, okay, and the right leg is more relaxed. There's a slight leaning of the head to the left side. And if you looked really closely, her left shoulder is higher than the right shoulder. Okay. The knees are apart, of course, the feet is apart, so that's fine. I'm just able to see some basic things with this kind of approach. Now, when we are in the classroom, the teacher would walk around the student in a very discreet manner to observe different parts. Like maybe I have to see the person, how their spine is from behind or how their profile is from the side. But now I can't move around the student. The student has to shift their position. So I'm going to ask Shakuntala to turn to one side, maybe face the cupboard. Face the cupboard. Thank you. Maybe you have cupboards on both sides. So, okay. So here I can see the profile. So I will be able to see the alignment of the head in relation to the spine, right? If I were to draw an imaginary line through the crown of the head all the way along the sides of the ears, the shoulders, all the way down to the feet, you can see if the head is positioned just above the shoulders, if the back of the head, neck, and spine are aligned, like Krishna says, Samakaya Shirogrivam in Bhagavad Gita, is there, that Samastiti position. So you can also see if the head is slightly tilted forward, the ear is in front of the shoulders and not sitting on the shoulders, position of the arms, even the alignment of the spine. Somebody may have a very flat upper back, a very deep lower back. All this can be seen very easily. And we usually don't ask people to wear very tight clothes and all that. Maybe somebody wants to wear a sari, somebody wants to wear a skirt. It really doesn't matter. But through these clothes, we should be able to observe whatever we can observe. Okay. Now, Shakuntala, can you turn to the other side? Yes. Thank you. So we want to see both sides, okay, to see if there is any difference between one side, one shoulder, one arm, and the other side. Now, I'm going to just ask her to do some simple movements. So just raise your right arm all the way up. Okay, lower your arm. Now your left. All the way down. So if you observed carefully, I think her left arm is moving a little away from the center. So Shakuntala, can you face me and do the same movement? So you watch the position of the arm in relation to the ear. So you can see that the left arm is more away from the midline. Yeah. I'm not going to give you a class on observation now. We're just demonstrating a few examples. Uttanasana. So again, turn to the side and do a simple forward bend. So we don't ask the person to do Uttanasana. We just say, raise your arms and bend down to the floor. And you can bend your knees if you want. So here we get a good sense of the flexibility of their legs, the spine, the lower back, mid back, upper back. And when they come up, which part of the body are they using to come? Yeah, are they using the shoulders to roll back? Are they using the lower back to come up? Or are they really bending the knees and using the legs to come up? So there's a lot that we can get out of a simple movement like this. I'm going to pause here and ask Shakuntala to move to lying position. Okay, and while she's preparing, I'm going to just give you the context of why this is very important and what we do when we want to observe somebody breathing. Okay, so if I want to observe somebody breathing, we start mostly in lying position. And imagine that I'm just a teacher sitting very next to Shakuntala and I want to observe her breathing because the breath is a very, very integral tool in our teaching. So I might ask her to just bend her legs so that the abdomen and the lower back is more relaxed. Okay. So in lying position, you can actually see the gap between the neck and the mat. And I'm just going to observe her breathing. So Shakuntala, just keep your focus on your breath. Inhale and exhale freely. And if I want to observe a little more carefully, maybe I would ask her to place one hand in the upper abdomen and one hand in the lower abdomen below the navel. Okay, so the navel separates the abdomen into the upper and the lower. And I would begin to observe how she's breathing. And maybe I'll ask her to breathe a little deeply. Okay, so just inhale deeply, exhale deeply. I'm not teaching anything, I'm simply observing her. Now, some people have the tendency to breathe into the stomach without the chest moving at all. Okay, and this you can observe if the hand in the lower abdomen is coming up first and the hand in the upper abdomen is not moving much. So, which means that they're not actually using their chest muscles properly. They're only using their diaphragm, and probably they're extending their abdomen to breathe in, which is not a very healthy way to breathe, except, of course, if somebody is very anxious and we really want to use abdominal breathing to calm them down. Okay, so ideally, if somebody is breathing correctly, the hand in the upper abdomen would move first up, and then the hand in the lower abdomen would just move a little bit. Then when we teach exhalation, we say draw the lower abdomen in and allow the chest to relax. So I have to see the hand in the lower abdomen going down as the navel is moving down towards the spine, and the upper abdomen, the chest is relaxing. So if I really watched very carefully, I can see how she is breathing. Okay, then I would ask her to sit up, facing the same side. Face maybe the side, yeah, whichever side you were facing before, not me. Just turn to the side. Yeah. So in seated position, we really can observe how the spine is moving while you're breathing. So just to exaggerate the movement of the spine in the breath, I'm going to ask her to inhale and raise the arms from the front in Dandasana, and exhale, lower the arms. So inhale as you raise your arms again. Exhale, draw the lower abdomen in, relax your chest as you lower your arms. Now just breathe without the arm movement. Wonderful. So it's very subtle, okay? And still you have to learn to observe, because what we teach is based on the breathing capacity of the student. Apart from physical flexibility, strength, alignment, balance, we also look at their breathing capacity and where to start, okay? And how to build their capacity. Thank you, Shakuntala. So we do this through group activities. Sometimes we put them in breakout rooms and ask them to choose one person, and the rest of them observe that person, make notes, come back to the full classroom and share what their observations are while we observe them again, and see whether it correlates with their observation. So there's a lot we do with observation online. We are able to do quite a lot, but you have to remember, it is never a substitute for having the person in front of you. And today, most people have become so comfortable to teach online or to learn online that we never want to actually travel all the way to another part of the city to meet the teacher. But we say, you never know what you don't know until you're actually seeing the person in person and teaching them. Yeah, it's a huge difference. Okay. Now I'm going to demonstrate one more thing that we use in our classroom, which is using the whiteboard. So that's why I have another gadget with me. So I use my whiteboard if I want people to look at how I want to present something. Okay. So I want to present what is yoga in asana practice. How do you experience yoga in asana practice? You'd say you have your body movement, then you have your mind. You use your breath to bring together the movement and the mind. Okay, so you start standing. So we use these stick figures to make it interesting. It is real time, and the students can also learn how to draw as they are copying what I'm drawing. Hopefully, they're also listening to. So if somebody is doing Uttanasana, you say, okay, as you inhale, raise your arms. As you exhale, bend forward. You inhale and come up. Exhale, lower your arms back to Samasthiti. And this is Uttanasana. So you really have to keep your attention, which is your mind, your intention. And then you start breathing. And then you move. So the movement is held within the breath, and the breath is held within the mind. And then you can experience what we call yoga. Okay, so because I'm going to stop here, it was just a demonstration, but I find this really very useful to help people to connect to the classroom in a very engaged manner. It was very alive for me and for the students. Then for a second. Yeah, we do. Thank you. I'm just going to ask you to take a minute to sit up with your back straight and bring your focus to your breath. Close your eyes. Connect to your posture, to the feet on the ground, your spine, and just start inhaling and exhaling deeply. So you've been listening to me. You've done some shravanam. Okay. Hopefully some grahanam has happened. And now is the time for mananam. What is it that you are sitting with? Okay, what is that you want to reflect upon? And then, of course, you can take it into the Nididhyasana and later to the Pravachan. So we offer this kind of breaks in between so that we're not fully in our head. We move into our body, we move into our breath, and we connect to what is happening in the here and now. Because the mind is the only entity that can keep you in the past or future. The body or the breath or your sense organs can only keep you in the present moment. That's what Sankhya says. So time and again, we have to bring people back to the present moment experience. And it doesn't matter whether I can see you or not. It is a choice every individual makes, whether I want to be fully present now or whether I allow myself to wander away. Okay, how much attentive am I? And that depends a lot on our state of mind, right? If the mind is very rajasic, okay, all the time multitasking, I move into a session with great hurry and then I want to take something and I want to move into something else. And even I'm in a session, I'm trying to do many things. A very rajasic mind cannot really pay attention. Yeah. And if the mind is very tamasic, if you're sitting here after a heavy breakfast or a late breakfast, then of course, with all intentions, it is not easy to pay attention. Okay, so we really have to look at what are these obstacles that come in the way. So initially, and maybe it even extends up to now, maybe it will continue. There's a lot of dukkham that we experience, the students experience, and much of this is even hard to understand. Dukkham, the constriction that we feel is now we have to change, what we call parinama dukkham. There's something that's drastically changed. And samskara dukkham, we are conditioned to something, now we have to completely move into another kind of conditioning, we have to learn some new habits. It's not easy. Yeah. And some of us can be more resistant to change than others. So how do we deal with this dukkha? The first obstacle that Patanjali talks about, vyadi, illness. This is, of course, the main obstacle that came in the form of COVID. And all that came along with COVID, anxiety and depression. And we are continuing to face the aftermath of COVID in so many different ways, with primarily our mental health. So in a real classroom, of course, somebody is sick, they can't come to a classroom. But now if you're sick, you can just lie down and listen. Yeah, you can be in any position. You don't have to have your camera on. You can still be in class. That means that you're getting something out of the class. That also means that you're not resting enough. You're not shutting down your mind. You're not shutting down your senses. And therefore, probably you might take longer to heal. Yeah. So it is a double bind. Every change, every process has a price that we have to pay and has a payoff. And how do we balance this is really the key. Okay. So the dukkham with the changes and all the obstacles, I'm not going into that whole range of 9 obstacles Patanjali talks about, but we all know, we have experienced and we continue to experience many of them through this period of engaging online and engaging in so many different ways. Challenges with technology is another thing. Many of us are simple yoga teachers. I don't even know how to make a PowerPoint. Yeah. And so we have to depend on so many people. We have to learn something. We have to learn so quickly, right? Shakuntala will be talking about that soon. And what we discovered is that suddenly there is an expansion of consciousness, that there is just so much of possibility that we can discover through bringing yoga into the online medium. So what are the different ways we can use technology? Yeah, the creativity that we can bring in. All this also is mind-blowing, and it is very, very exciting in some way. I remember I have spent many hours thinking about how to bring this into the classroom online. And I would be actually doing my pranayama or meditating, but I was not actually doing my pranayama or meditating. I'm actually thinking of how to teach the class. And that doesn't really help me in my practice. So I have to draw a boundary and say, okay, I'll put that away now and I will do my practice. So it has impacted our practice. It has impacted the quality of our attention, our health. But we are also very excited that we want to do more and we want to do better. And of course, this poses new challenges with learning, because different people have different learning styles and learning capabilities. Some people are more auditory, kinesthetic, more visual, and people really struggled, to even keep attention. The eyes are strained, the mind is completely fatigued. And so we had to bring and invent many ways in which we can deal with these kind of issues. But really, it was learning on the go. Yeah, every step. And it was both exciting and tiring. But I can say that the learning curve continues, and we really don't know where we are going with this whole thing. But it is a beautiful exploration. We go to the next slide. So there were this COVID waves. The first wave, we were completely in a state of shock and really getting our feet on the ground and trying to convert many things to online and do what we can. When the second wave hit, okay, even towards the end of the first wave, we were already thinking, what can we do to all the people who are suffering from COVID? And in so many ways, it could be our own family members in another part of the city that we're not able to reach, or another country. It could be people who are actually suffering, who are in the hospital. We have even worked with people in the hospital setting, like maybe some of them were actually in the ICU and they could use their phone to connect with us and to learn some simple techniques to calm their mind down and do something to improve their breathing. So a big group of our teachers and therapists were just there, available online in different time zones, saying anybody who wants to reach us, we are happy to give you one-on-one classes. Okay, we would teach chanting online. We would teach breathing practice, we teach meditative practice. We would just chant for them so that they can listen and calm themselves down. Some simple asana practice and different settings. There were families that were grieving. All families in India, I think, have lost some people in our life. So there was so much grief in families where 2 or 3 members died due to COVID. And what is that we can do? We were just there and say, okay, we will be there, we will listen to you, and we can lead you through a simple practice and offer whatever is possible. And so we really learned to ride the wave of COVID and help other people to ride the wave. Hopefully, some benefit came out of it, but we learned a lot because we also needed healing. We also needed to work with ourselves and work with all that we were taking from our students. So we had to come together, do some chanting, do some practice together on a regular basis and share and learn from each other so that we can take it back to the larger community. So this is what happened during the entire COVID crisis, that primarily the first wave and a big part of the second wave, and then slowly we were able to help people to come into live setting and work with them. But even now, a large part of our work happens online. Yes, Shakuntala. Yes, I'm going to take a pause and ask Shakuntala to now share.
Thank you, Saras. I'm going to talk to everyone about how we created this learning space in the digital world, in the virtual world. So we started by wanting to emulate or sort of stimulate the classroom setting where one enters a hall and crosses the threshold from outside the hall to inside the hall, sits together, whatever formation, and the teacher is the center and the students are all around. Okay, and that is what we wanted to stimulate. So what we would do is we had a few guidelines on how we would conduct a classroom, how we would have sessions. Okay, at a classroom level, what we would do is the structure of the class was very similar to what we would do in an offline setting, in a hall. We would start with a prayer, start with some chanting, start with group sharing, okay, then move to the practice, then the theory session, the discussion, Q&A, any kind of group work that will happen with the teachers among the students, and then consolidation, then debrief at the end of the session, end with a practice, end with a prayer, and that's how the classroom was. Now, what we would do, as Saras also mentioned, was to maintain, to be able to have the attention of the students and the teachers, not to have fatigue, and also to be able to cover the hours in the training programs. We designed our curriculum in such a way that it is spread across months, across the weeks, and each of these sessions would be 3 to 4 hours with 5 to 10 minutes of breaks every hour, so that people can get up, either have a bio break or just do some kind of a pratyahara practice, which would be just move away from the device, get up, walk, do some stretching, so that your mind is refreshed and you rejoin the session. So there is no fatigue. Then when you are entering the Zoom session, we predominantly use Zoom. We also sometimes we also use the Google Meet and any other device. So we would insist that you come on time using all the facilities that online platforms are able to give us. Okay, coming on time, setting up a cluster-free environment where there is no clutter around you, whether it is the background around you or noises around you, even your desk, the light, so that you are able to sit comfortably, how you are sitting, how you are, what is around you, where are you looking, are you able to hear properly, So they are able to completely pay attention to it, keeping their, so we will give them some guidelines on how to do this, turn their videos on so that you are engaged and not lost in your mind. You're part of the whole group. Keep your microphones muted so that the flow of the lesson is not lost. Make notes and ask question and answers at the time of the question and answers. Also not to, in some way the teacher has some way, some method to ensure that he or she is constantly engaged with the classroom and does not lose the attention of the students. One additional feature and another important aspect that we would ask them to keep a note of is the internet, because that seems to be the lifeline for everyone. If the internet is not there, the whole classroom seems to collapse. So we've had many instances like that where we underestimated the power of this simple optic fiber that runs across the world. So checking the internet, checking the connectivity so that you are not distracted, disturbed, and suddenly yanked away from your classroom. So we also had some kind of a security system, if I can call that, allowing others, only those who are part of the courses, part of the training programs to enter. And during the breaks, we would encourage them to relax their eyes particularly, so that the strain on the eyes is not so much. So a lot of eye exercises, a lot of simple stretches, palming of the eyes, using something for the eyes so that they are able to maintain their attention. When we started online sessions, we had both the teacher speaking, and then we would also use PPTs. So we spent a lot of time preparing very nice PPTs, educative PPTs. But we felt that when the PPT is there, the teacher can't see the students can't see the teacher, and the teacher is lost in one small button, like I can see Saras in one small button. That's all. So we decided that we're not going to do something like this, or we're going to do less of it. And we brought the whiteboard into the classroom. We used the facilities that were there in iPads and any of these laptops, and started writing, drawing, like how Saras had shown just a few minutes ago, and using those to teach the lessons, and also for the students to present what they're doing. So it was very interactive, very engaged. Everyone was part of it and alive. Okay. Many of these sessions are synchronous, though asynchronous, which is recorded material, is also part of the learning. We paid a lot of attention to synchronous learning, where people will come, students will come for the sessions live. Only if they are unable to attend, there is a recording that is given. Recordings are shared. The encouragement is to come to the live sessions. We had run a course during the COVID period in 2020 till 2021, a 250-hour teacher training program, where 50 hours was set aside for a residential retreat, which finally we did last December in 22, after everything was fine and everyone is comfortable to travel. So the 200 hours, which included 150 hours of teaching, was completely synchronous. There was recorded material that was given, but that is for reference to go back and for their own notes. But a lot of value is given to the synchronous material, that is a synchronous way of learning. In that process, in the live sessions, we continue to do the group work, where we use facilities like breakout rooms, where students can work in smaller cohorts, do reflective work, do small group work, discussions, brainstorming, anything that can be done in small groups, and come to the larger group and present. So the whole flavor of the learning is still maintained, is still retained. And presentations can be done through PPT, then live drawings, like how we had shown earlier. or just sharing something that they have drawn, projecting the images that they have done. Then practices, whether they are asana practices or whether they are assessments of these practices, were also done online, were also done during these hours, where students were required to either teach to be assessed, or they will teach for the rest of the group, or the teachers are teaching as part of the lessons. So practices were also taught. And we used all the facilities that were provided by the platforms. So technology was completely, what can I say, explored and used from end to end, so that the connection between the teacher and the student and the learning process continues to stay alive. So I'm going to invite Saras to talk a little bit more about some of the retreats that we have done in online format.
Thank you, Shakuntala. So we have also done some online retreats, and you would wonder how would you do an online retreat? And this was something that we did much early in the beginning of the COVID, where people were all homebound, right? There were great restrictions to even move out of the house. And so we created a retreat etiquette, like the guidelines. If I want people to join at a particular time, maybe we would have a break where we would all eat together mindfully. So you have to prepare something. Maybe you have to keep some fruits, keep them washed, and some knife or something next to you. Or we might say, okay, bring in a candle to do a meditation or a Trataka practice. And sometimes we would say, just take a walk mindfully in your garden and come back with an object that would represent you and talk about it. So there was a lot of space given during retreats where we come together, do a small session, maybe 45 minutes, and then we do a short practice, and then there is a short break. And during the break, we tell people, be quiet, make sure that you prepare your whole space and your whole routine for the day, even the people at home, that you are going to be on a retreat. Okay. So maybe you are spending more time in that one room and you're inside that room. And even when we have lunch breaks, we'll tell them, okay, go into your living space, but make sure you're not looking at your phone or engaging too much with people around you, because you try and see this as a retreat for you. And so we have done 1, 2, 3 day retreats, which have worked very well. And later, when we had retreats, people in the same city who came together and who were actually attending the retreat from one device. So it was really like a group of people together in one place, and I will be in another place, and other students were somewhere else. So we really had a lot of learning and a lot of fun also in these modes of working together, where we are not missing out on much, and we're able to do or get the best out of what we could do at that point of time, right? So that was one thing. We also made sure that when somebody comes into the classroom and when we leave, we really know where we are. Okay, so we have this sharing circles. So this is how we would do in a classroom. We'll all sit in a circle together and do some breathing, center ourselves, and maybe share where we are, what is our state of mind, what are we bringing into the space. And everyone will go around sharing. So in the online space, one person would share and then they would tag the next person, that person would share, they would tag the next person. It takes time. And some people would want to talk more, some people don't want to say anything. But we want that to happen because we really want to know where the student is, what is happening to them in their life right now, and how can we include everything into the learning process. So we have children coming into the classroom and we have pets around in the classroom. We just include everything, try and keep it as natural as possible. And it's beautiful for us to actually, it's like you are in the living space of the other person. You can see the house they're living in, their living room, the people they walk, they're living with, and everything actually is so meaningful because we are in touch with each other in real time and we are connected. I think that was what mattered the most for all of us. And it continues to. Yeah. So I'm coming back to the last slide for today's presentation. This is what I started with, how to keep yoga in yoga, right? Because it is so easy in the information technology age that we can completely go off track and really make it about gathering more and more information and learning more and more without the time to internalize it, digest it, and live it, right? Yoga is about living your daily life in a certain way, right? Where you can be more and more and more present in this moment and fully experience this moment, whether it's sukham or dukkham or whatever that is, right? And how to experience this moment from a very quiet, deep space within you. Okay, the more and more we learn to do that, we are not swayed so easily, we're not pulled so easily into the problems of life. So, how do we bring that experience of yoga for the student, for the practitioners, in a very live manner, not just as information? Go and do it. We don't even know how many people can actually go back and experience that for themselves without the right kind of guidance. So, this is one of the drawings that I made in the whiteboard as we were discussing how we integrate yoga into our daily life. So, sunrise, maybe you wake up before sunrise and you're meditating, right? And then you do some pranayama, some asana practice. Maybe you're having your breakfast, you're eating quietly, mindfully, and then maybe you're doing your work, and then you're walking mindfully. So you move, you're not sitting for a long time, because during COVID, a lot of us developed neck pain and back pain and weight gain and all that because we were not moving much. So it's not just enough that you do some asana practice at the beginning of the day, you are also moving your body. So bringing some circulation into the body, clearing the mind. Hopefully you can walk in nature where you can look at the sky, look at faraway objects, so the eyes can relax better, right? And then maybe you're spending time with your family, which is very important. Don't just get so consumed with this Zoom fever. Try and see how you can actually live your daily life as normally as possible. And then as the sun is setting, maybe you have another practice, maybe you go to bed early, yeah, so that you can sleep well, sleep deeply, and then wake up fresh and continue your day. And what is integral to all of this, how do you bring yoga into every aspect of your daily life, is how you come back to your breath again and again. So this is something that we teach people all the time, like come back to your breath. So we even have a singing bowl. And somehow it is, I have not learned yet how to use it in the online platform, because when I use a singing bowl, it rings ting like that and then it stops. But when I can hear the resonance of the singing bowl for a long time, like almost 1 minute, and for that 1 minute, we ask people to just drop everything in your mind and just breathe. So you create space within you so that some quietness can come, some integration can come. Then the Shravanam and the Grahanam and the Mananam and hopefully the Nididhyasanam process can happen very seamlessly and beautifully. So this mindful bell, we also ask people to download the app and use it. You can time it for 1 hour, 20 minutes, whatever. Maybe you don't hear it all the time because the mind is so preoccupied. But even if you hear it 10 times a day, that 10 times you can take 10 breaths at a time or even 5 breaths at a time. That is yoga. You're coming back to the moment. You are with your breath, you are with your prana, you are with yourself. And so there is a certain depth and quietness that you experience that will really help us to move to a better state of health and well-being and be better people in our life. So if that experience cannot be brought into the online platform through the way we are teaching and learning, I think there's no point, right? We can do a lot in the online platform, but how do we keep yoga in yoga? That is really the question that I'm leaving all of you with. So we have about half an hour if you have any questions. And maybe there's a lot that we could still share, but I thought it might be good to make it more interactive. So if you have questions, then we can answer that.
Thank you, Saraswati ji. Thank you, Shakuntala. Such a beautiful demonstration of different tools and techniques. Honestly speaking, you've spoken about Shravanam, which is like listening with a desire to learn. But there is a big role of teachers also to put all those techniques, tools, and tone to make your class so attractive that there is a desire which comes out that yes, I want to sit all together for whatever hours or whatever minutes that class is, and I want to continue listening. So beautifully demonstrated. I really love the way there was entire program was built around, and I'm sure even our attendees, the audience, have loved it. And we have few questions. So first is from Shikha Sood. Could you explain the meaning of Nidhi Yasanam once again?
Nididhyasanam, this is the learning process from the Upanishads. Okay, Nididhyasanam, according to Vedanta, is the process of meditation. It is actually contemplation and internalizing something, really making it your own. So if you eat food, I'm just giving you an example. When you eat food, the food gets digested and assimilated, then it becomes your tissue, right? That whole process is called Nididhyasana. So in learning, I can learn something like yoga is yogaha karmasu kaushalam. What does that mean? I can learn the definition of it. Yeah, I can put words into it. But it's only words, right? How do I actually make meaning out of it, and how do I apply it in my daily life? What we call Kriya Yoga, right? Tapaswadhyaya Ishvara Pranidhana. How do I bring it into every aspect of my daily life? Right now, this, what we are doing here in the online setting, could be an action of yoga, right? Tapas is that we're really preparing, that we're really making sure that we're in the right frame of mind. We have all the tools ready, and we are able to communicate in a manner that reaches people. Swadhyaya is I have to constantly reflect and see whether I'm in the right direction. And Ishvara Pranidhana, because it's an online platform, there's so many of you I can't even see. So it's only an offering, right? And we don't know how you're going to take it, what people can understand, but just offering with a complete heart and offering it to the world. Nothing belongs to us. So that is yoga hu karma sukaushal, right? So if I'm able to bring it into my daily life, that is called Nididhyasana.
Thank you, Saraswati ji. We have our next question from Shikhasu. Are you using a tablet to write on whiteboard?
Yeah, I'm using my iPad. I'm using the iPad and I'm using the iPad pencil to write on the. So I have another gadget and I'm using this pencil to write. Instead of using the board, so normally I would use a board like this, right? But here I'm using a different board. That's all.
So friends who do not have an iPad, I would just give you a quick trick that you can use a whiteboard also and a second camera, what ma'am has used. So you can use that base also. So I'm sure these techniques will work wonders in your classroom and will be like a breakthrough. Love the concept of adding more fun or can say awareness to teaching yoga and yoga retreat. Ma'am, can you please elaborate it more? This is a question by Sushmita Sahu.
What is the question?
Love the concept of adding more fun, or can say awareness, to teaching yoga in yoga retreat. Ma'am, can you please elaborate it more?
Okay. So let us just simulate a very small retreat setting wherever you are seated at home. Just look around yourself. Okay. So I am looking around. I have closed the door to ensure that there is no disturbance coming from the rest of the household. I make sure that there's enough light on me so that you can see me, right? I have closed my windows that the noise in Chennai from the Chennai streets are not invading into your space. I'm just ensuring that my seat is comfortable. And first step, right? We really are paying attention to everything around us, our physical space, and making sure that everything is conducive to helping me to be more attentive, that I am comfortable in the seat, I am not disturbed by noise or other things, right? Then come to yourself. Okay. So how do you really work with yourself in the retreat setting? The first thing is to say, okay, I don't know you. Okay, I don't know where you are, what is your time zone, and what is your state of mind that you are in right now. And I will never know that, right, unless you communicate that. But can you feel your breath? Can you just be with your breath? So as you inhale and exhale, you're slowly withdrawing your attention into yourself. Okay, the moment you start observing your breath, hopefully your eyes are closed, mine are. I'm moving within into myself. I'm beginning to observe the breath in my chest, in my abdomen, the movement of my spine. When we are silent for too long, people think they have dropped out or I have dropped out. But silence is very important because it's a very integral part of retreats, that we really want to be with ourselves. And the teacher or the setting or the retreat itself is only to enable you to be with yourself. Retreat means you retreat into yourself, right? So just be with your breath. Maybe one more breath. Allow the exhalation to completely relax your spine, relax your body. Settle into your posture. Come into your body fully, deeply. You're fully here in the present moment. Okay. So I'm going to ask you a question. Maybe you can type out the answer. When was the last time you really laughed, like an open-throated laughter, completely joyful, like mirth? When was the last time? And what was the situation? Can you share that so that you can make all of us laugh? It could have been a joke somebody shared. Yeah. It could have been something that you saw that made you laugh so much. It could have been some experience with your children or your pet, whatever that is. Can you simply share it? Because hasyam is a rasa, okay? It is a very primordial, primal rasa. It is the basic primal experience of a human being, hasyam. And hasyam really opens our heart. Yeah, it expands the mind. And hasyam is what we can share. I'm not talking about laughing at somebody, okay? Laughing with somebody. What made you really laugh? I know some of you may be taking a long time to do this, because if I asked you what was that disturbed you the most in the last few days, I'm sure we would remember that very clearly, because it's so big in our mind. But happiness somehow just floats away, it's very ephemeral. So I want you to think about what made you laugh. And whoever asked me the question, Sushmita, just write down What made you really laugh? Okay, somebody says this morning I was feeding the birds in the park, but 3 squirrels stole all the food and literally blocked them with their tails. That's my God. Very naughty ones, yeah. Wow. And you were laughing with your siblings just before the class. Wonderful. Last weekend, where we were in the beach and playing with the waves, watched us stand up and laugh my heart out. It's my most favorite thing. I also love stand-up comedies. Try to watch or gather things which make me laugh, not only just smile. Yeah. The neighbor's cat I see from the window whenever I open the sleeping room window. Today, cat chased you. My God. Wow. You can laugh. And we, in real time, we're all laughing together. It does not matter whether you're in Chennai or in Timbuktu, you're all laughing together. And laughter enlivens your prana. So this breath, this prana is a shared experience. It's not your prana or my prana, it's just prana that's flowing between you and me. Okay, we are in the virtual setting, but there is a real direct experience of your prana that's coming to me, and I'm enjoying it. And I'm hoping that our prana is also reaching you. And hopefully you're enjoying that as well. Okay, so this is connection, love, laughter that we can share, right? But remember, you have to feel it in your body. Okay, when you experience this laughter, when you think of those 2 squirrels that stole all the food, okay, or the cat that was chasing Kavya today, yeah. How does it feel in your body? Just that tingling sensation, that expansiveness, just that freedom that you experience from all our problems, temporarily at least. Yeah, feels so good. How's your breath? Can you connect to your breath? Observe how is your breath now. Yeah, it's beautiful, right? It's light, yeah. Relaxed. It is really like we all are sitting in the same room and having some fun, isn't it? Sharing some laughter, sharing some jokes. Your lungs are breathing more air after a good laughter. Wonderful. Yeah, let's not make yoga very serious, okay? Yoga has to have fun. Otherwise, I don't know. It's only the asmita that makes us very serious, our own ego. So my teacher used to say, smita means to smile and asmita is to forget to smile. So as a teacher, if I become very serious and say, now come, you learn all this, okay? I'm supposed to complete all this curriculum, 10 slides, I want you to learn Pakka, and you should be able to deliver it next time. We are going to do assessment. Already your breath is shrinking, right? But let's have fun. Let's just enjoy this process of learning. My God, I can learn from the students and students can learn from me. And that learning is happening seamlessly. Oh, yeah. If you're too serious, you can become sleepy also. Yeah. So we are ensuring that you're very attentive, okay, by keeping it very light and relaxed and joyful. That's a very selfish reason why we want to do all this with you now. Yeah, so that was a little bit of the retreat work that we do. If you want another 5 minutes in it, are you game? Another 5 minutes of a short practice that we do in a retreat setting. Do we have the time, Shivani?
Ma'am, I think the audience is enjoying so much that I wouldn't, we have a buffer time 15 minutes, so you can totally take your time.
Back to your questions after the short practice. This is for all of you. I want you to get up from your seats, okay? Just look around and just find some space where you can walk. And I want you to walk with your back straight and walk looking straight, not looking down. Take 1 step, you inhale. Take 2 steps where you exhale. So establish that rhythm. 1 step you inhale, 2 steps you exhale. Just walk for a little while And I'm going to call you back. Don't go out of the door. Okay. Stay in the room or stay in a place where you can hear me. Call you back. So just mindful walking, keeping your back straight, keeping your head, looking ahead, not looking at your feet. Your feet can walk without you looking at it. Okay. And just with a smile, relax. Remember all the jokes that we were talking about. So I'm going to walk as well. So I'm going to move away from my seat. 5 minutes and I'm going to come back. Stay where you are. Do the walking with the breathing. Okay. Keep your focus completely in the present moment. Enjoy that walking and breathing with all of us together. Imagine we're all doing this together, wherever we are. Okay. And now please continue to walk with 2 steps inhale and 3 steps for exhalation. Continue to walk and this time pause briefly, just for a moment at the end of every inhalation and at the end of every exhalation. So you are transitioning from the inhale to exhale and from the exhale to the next inhale. Just 2 more minutes. Okay, now you can slowly walk back to your seats. We did a 5-minute mindful walking with the breath. And we had 3 practices. You started with 1 step inhale, 2 steps exhale. So the exhale was slightly longer than inhalation. Then we extended the inhalation and exhalation by 1 more second. And then I introduced a pause where you are actually pausing even your movement, which gives your mind the possibility to become quiet and still. Yeah. So all this we could do in 5 minutes. Just not a lot of time. And hopefully your attention span was better than 8.25 seconds. Right? And hopefully it was getting better.
Ma'am, we have a few more questions. Would you like to address it?
Yeah,
now?
sure.
Yeah, so we have a question by Jayashree Rati. She says that you said abdomen breathing is not correct, only chest breathing is correct. Although a combination of both is something we have been learning. Can you resolve the doubt and clear the confusion?
Thank you.
Please, thank you.
Thank you for that question. So what we use in our practice, breath is a very, very integral part of our work. Every asana is done with conscious breathing. And we teach a student how to breathe better right in the first class. Okay. So technically, you can, normally we breathe mostly in the upper chest. Normal breathing is more in the upper chest, very shallow breath. When we are lying down, we breathe mostly because of the movement of the diaphragm. So you can feel the abdomen going up and down when you're lying down, when you're sleeping, etc. So to get the maximum out of the breath, you have to use the chest and the abdomen. Okay, it's a complete breath. So you teach somebody how to exhale first correctly, better. I won't say correct or wrong, but if you can use your lower abdominal muscles, you can use your diaphragm, you can use your chest muscles better to throw the air out. It is safer also to teach exhalation before teaching inhalation. So we train somebody to breathe out from the lower abdomen, relax the upper abdomen, relax the chest. Once somebody has learned how to exhale better, then we teach how to inhale. And this is where chest breathing and abdominal breathing comes. So what we use is diaphragmatic breathing, which includes the chest and abdomen. Okay. Just pure abdominal breathing, where you're just pushing the abdomen out on inhale, relaxing on exhale, is fine for a beginner. And this is a breath that really relaxes the person. So if somebody comes with anxiety issues, we teach abdominal breathing because it really helps to reduce anxiety and calm the person down. We wouldn't introduce chest breathing in the beginning for such people. But for normal healthy people, we teach somebody to inhale from the chest to the abdomen, to the upper abdomen. So you start breathing in, you feel the breath from the base of the clavicle. You're not lifting the chest up, you're not lifting your shoulders, you're just expanding. And the upper abdomen comes out because of the movement of the diaphragm. So the diaphragm is contracting, it is flattening, so the upper abdomen moves out. You don't push the lower abdomen out. Okay. In the best way to breathe is not to push the lower abdomen out, because when we do that, we're actually pushing all the abdominal organs down, and already gravity is doing that work. Okay, as we age, the muscles are becoming more and more lax, and all the abdominal organs are actually descending. That's why people experience prolapse of bladder, uterus, etc. as we age. So we don't want to exaggerate that with breathing. Breathing should not be doing that. Okay, so we allow the breathing from the chest to the upper abdomen, and you don't try to breathe and push the lower abdomen out on inhalation. Now I'm just telling you this in 2 minutes, but we teach this for many, many hours. Okay, in our classroom, we observe, we teach first inhalation, maybe for a few weeks, they only exhalation. They only learn how to exhale better. Already inhale would have improved. Then we teach how to inhale better. And again, we teach according to the individual. According to the nature of the individual, what is required is what we teach. For people with, say, asthma, where chest is very restricted, we use more of abdominal breathing. Okay, so it's according to the individual what is required. Chest breathing alone can create anxiety, so we need to be careful with how we teach that.
I think Jayashree might be satisfied. Can I have a message from Jayashree that yes, thank you so much, Jayashree, ma'am. Let's move to the next question by Shikha Sood. She's asking, ma'am, these days I see a lot of yoga teachers creating posts around yoga for this, yoga for that, yoga for weight loss, commoditizing it. How can we work towards maintaining its authenticity and traditional element?
Yoga simply says that you can only work with yourself. Okay. So, what is that I believe in? What is that you believe in, Shikha? Is that what you offer? Right? We really cannot change the world. But if we really believe in what we want to offer and how we want to offer that, we can pay attention to it. I think it is good for people to know that yoga can help with weight loss and reducing anxiety and depression and all that. Definitely, it is helpful for people to know that. But uh, the whole thing depends on practice, right? It is not a technique. It's not something that I have this technique, I can put it in my bag and then it will change my life. I have to go back and practice. I have to change my diet. I have to change my lifestyle. And often these things are not touched upon, particularly for weight loss. People think that, like, you are doing, then yoga becomes like an aerobic exercise. It is not meant to be that. Your breath rate or your pulse rate should not increase with yoga asana practice. It should be the same or it should come down, right? So the breathing and the movement has to be really slow and deep. And it changes your metabolism. It changes the way you experience life. You deal with your sense organs and how much you are drawn into consumption and what kind of discipline it brings to you. So it changes the person more holistically. It is not about, building up what you call like burning fat. It is not that. So I think sometimes we could be communicating something very wrong by these things. Somebody thinks I can just take that, go to a class, and somebody will transform me into a very thin person. Maybe it is not even desirable if somebody has a constitution that is different, right? Yeah, it's always good to question it. But I think in the face of all of this, can we focus on what we believe in and offer that?
I completely agree with you, ma'am. Our last question for this session is by Namita Sinha. She's asking, ma'am, can you give some suggestions for teaching yoga for children online, especially in a group class?
I'm going to pass this on to Shakuntala, who's teaching children. I am not teaching children, so I don't have the authority to answer this question.
Thank you for the question. So teaching children online is, I found it quite similar to teaching them offline, because over a period of time, I started understanding the children better and using various tools to engage them, various ways to keep them actively interested in the asana practice, in the movements, and teaching them breath in an innovative way. So you can teach children like that in group classes online. One of the things I also found was that all the children now are playing outside. Okay, so in a way, it's heartwarming to see children actually go out and play, because this is what the children have to do naturally. Okay, if you would like more details about how to teach children in group classes, probably you can, you can contact us later if that is okay through hellomyyoga. Yeah, and we will share more information on that. But it's a lot of fun. If you're teaching children, it's a lot of fun. I think it keeps the teacher also very young, very alive, and the heart and the soul very young.
And very present also.
Very present.
Be distracted, yeah.